It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin with the celebration of Children's Day, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has guaranteed the protection and nurturing of children in Nigeria during his message on the occasion of the 2025 National Children's Day. In a statement, President Tinubu reaffirmed the government's commitment to nurturing and protecting children as Nigeria's future leaders, innovators, and change makers. The president continued saying, and I quote, "Across every school, community, and home in Nigeria today, you are the most precious part of our national fabric, the heartbeat of our nation's future, and the custodians of tomorrow's promise, innovation, and leadership. I therefore reaffirm today our constitutional, moral, and intergenerational duty and commitment to safeguard every Nigerian child, protect his or her rights, and nurture his or her dreams." President Tinubu said the government prioritizes child protection under the Renewed Hope agenda, which includes the full implementation of Nigeria's National Plan of Action on Ending Violence Against Children, 2024 to 2030. Now, Monday's sealing of the PDP National Secretariat forced the meeting of organs of the party, including the National Working Committee, to hold at the Bauchi State Governor's Lodge in the Asokoro district of the Federal Capital Territory. A meeting of the National Working Committee preceded that of the PDP caucus, and the party described the sealing of the party's National Secretariat as a reckless display of irresponsibility and a deliberate act by the All Progressives Congress to silence opposition. After the closed-door meeting, PDP Acting National Chairman Umar Damagum told journalists that the caucus meeting will continue on Tuesday. He was silent on the National Executive Committee meeting and the conflicting announcements on whether it will hold or not.
As you can see, we just adjourned our meeting for today to tomorrow, 10 o'clock. This meeting is going to continue. We've just set up a small committee that will give us a report tomorrow morning, and we'll continue. And we'll address you properly by the time we conclude our meeting tomorrow. And I want to use this opportunity to tell you that you can see, I'm sure, you are aware that our office has been sealed. This is the height of irresponsibility from this government. If they are encouraging it, we are not going to take it lightly. In fact, they can come and arrest all of us. We are ready for that. But we condemn this in totality, and is the highest sense of irresponsibility, and we will not tolerate it. They are trying to mar democracy, and this is unacceptable. We condemn it, and we will make sure that they will have us to contend in the near future. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Here.
Well, in other developments, the former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami over the weekend slammed the governing All Progressives Congress for being insensitive to the plight of citizens and prioritizing politics. Malami, who was AGF in the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, said it was shocking that the government abandoned governance in the face of pressing economic and security challenges. Malami said instead of addressing serious issues of insecurity, economic hardship, and rising poverty, APC had chosen to focus on politics, endorsing President Bola Tinubu ahead of an election that was still 2 years away. Malami spoke on Sunday in Abuja at the National Political Consultative Group Northern Region meeting with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former presidential candidate Peter Obi, and former Governor of Rivers State Chibuike Amechi in attendance as well. And finally, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has announced the withdrawal of the bill geared towards amending the Electoral Act 2022 to make voting compulsory for all eligible Nigerians. Abbas disclosed this in a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Musa Krishi. He says the decision follows extensive consultations with stakeholders, stating that the bill, which he co-sponsored with the member representing Bassa Jos North Federal Constituency, Daniel Ago, was introduced with the best of intentions. The Speaker therefore said rather than compel participation, he was committed to exploring positive incentives and innovative approaches that would make voting more attractive. Well, that's a very welcome development because that bill was, some would say, dead on arrival.
Very dead. As dead as dodo, like they say. But I'm happy that common sense has prevailed because there was nothing commonsensical about pushing that bill. You know, if you want people to come out to vote, you need to show transparency of the electoral process, not forcing them and making it mandatory. So I kudos to Abbas that he allowed common sense to prevail as regards that bill, and that bill has been quashed. And like he said, other things will be done to make people come out to vote. You know what will make people come out to vote in 2027? If all the electoral reforms that we've been pushing for is passed by this National Assembly and is assented to by the President. If that is not done, a lot of people might not want to come out to vote. So there is no place where you want people to come out to vote, you will not bring about electoral reforms. And it has to be said. So once they can collate all the things, the iterations of what an electoral bill, sent to the National Assembly, should speedily pass it, so at least we can give the president like a 1-year window to sign it. And I say that deliberately because we all know how President Buhari behaved. How he didn't want to sign it. How he would say, go back, you didn't put an I here, you didn't put a T, and he finally did not sign it leading up to the elections, in 2019. But he was happy to sign it, obviously, once the elections didn't involve him again. And that's how all presidents behave. Most presidents behave, especially, okay, let me nucleate it. That's how President Buhari behaved. As regards what Mr. Malami is saying, yeah, it's true. But a lot of people in opposition will also say that when you were in power, what did you do? Were you able to fix the insecurity as the Attorney General? Wasn't it under you a lot of things happened? Till today, where are we with the prosecution of those people that were caught for, terrorist funding in Dubai? So they will also ask many questions under you. But can we take the substance of what he has said? Yes. What he has said is even in correlation to what the president said today at this Children's Day talk, where he said, we'll provide a safe environment. Is the environment safe for Nigerian children? No. Malnutrition is very high. Malnutrition is a big one. Out of school children, the numbers are high. We can dispute the number and say, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, even less than that. There's out of school children issue. Thirdly, you also have issues around infant mortality, tuberculosis, malaria is still killing children at this day and age. Congenital health defects are a big problem. Recently on this day, we're celebrating the guy that had the tetralogy of the fallout issue, done by Dodgers Hospital. How many children can even get access to that kind of health care when they have congenital health issues? Also, insecurity has destroyed the rights of children in this country. Children are being killed in crisis. My memory can never leave the incident that happened in Buniyadi many years ago where boys in a federal school were slaughtered. They were slaughtered. So children are still facing a lot of this crisis in our country. Yes, the president's intention is good, but since the first years, 2025, when they had an international conference on children's well-being and the ratification by the United Nations in 1954, a lot has not been done. As regards the PDP house that was closed yesterday, Dr. Ateti wrote a very interesting article called Octopus Wiki. It's a very good, I read it, and he made some very salient points. The question, like we always say, is power will not last forever. And like you asked rightly in the end, Dr. Abati, where is Mr. Tony Anedi today? Where is Lamidi Adedibu today? Where is even Vincent Ogbulafo that said the PDP will lead for the next 60 years? Where are they today? Dear. The French will say, prends patience. Responsable d'Afrique, prenons conscience. Please, let us calm things down. You might have I know those in support of Minister Wike will say to me and say, Rufai, but why will you say that? Does that mean they should not pay their ground? No, nobody's saying they shouldn't pay their ground rent. Please, don't get me wrong. But the question is, why is it that it was just only yesterday he showed a disagreement, and today, and a day before yesterday, and today, they are talking about ground rents? As I wrap up, I know I have to wrap up, please. I'm sorry. I think this poem is apt by J.P. Clark, Streamside Exchange. It says, riverbed, riverbed, sitting all day long, on hook over grass, riverbed, riverbed. Sing to me a song of all that past and say, will mother come back today? You shall not know and you should not bother. Tides and markets come and go, and so shall your mother. Politicians should remember, tide and market come and go, and so shall political influence. I yield the floor.
Okay, very quickly. Today is Children's Day, May 27, universally recognized, always celebrated in Nigeria. And I think it was most appropriate that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu issued a statement celebrating Nigerian children. Nigerian children whom he described appropriately as the pride and the future of our nation, and as the promise of tomorrow, the nation's growth, innovation, and all of that. Now, the only problem here is that as far back as 1979, when it was the International Youth Day, I think it was declared by the United Nations, we have been hearing that the children of today are the future of tomorrow. Many of the people who were children in 1979, 1977, today they have become adults. They are still living in agony. One Nigerian president came, a military man in Babariga, said, for tomorrow, for the future of our children tomorrow, we give our today. All those children that Babangida promised, that tomorrow is waiting for them. They are suffering today. But after a fashion, ritualistically, symbolically, I think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hit the right notes. He's talking about the safety of children. Under President Babangida, and even before him, we had issues in schools. Nigeria has a safe school policy. I was there when Gordon Brown came with, Kunjuwela, with Nduka Obagbena, with President Jonathan, trying to design a safe school policy initiative for Nigeria. Where has that left us today? The schools are not safe. Under President Tinubu, we have not had cases of schools being, on a large scale, being attacked and perimeter fencing issues forming part of the debate. So President Tinubu is right when he says that we need to ensure that the schools are safe. We need to ensure that children do not live in fear in Nigeria. I think in that regard, his message is on point. His message is also on point when he says that, look, his administration is trying to take a second look at the Cybercrime Act, at the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, and also the Child Rights Act, which has been signed by 36 states of the Federation, to make this environment safer for children and to ensure that our schools are violence-free. The theme of this year is Stand Up, Speak Up, building a bullying-free generation. The president pointed out that 65% of Nigerian children are subjected to bullying in schools, in and out of schools. And he says that his administration has a national plan of action on ending violence against children, 2024 to 2030. I think that is also a good initiative. And it tells us that the responsibility for taking care of children is a collective responsibility. He made a statement, see something, say something. It takes a parent to produce a child. It takes a community, the whole village, to protect that child. On that note, I would like to celebrate all and congratulate all Nigerian children on this day that they are being celebrated. But the Nigerian government should move beyond Rhetoric. I've said President Tinubu spoke well, but beyond rhetoric, we must have action. We must see commitment. We must see in real terms that, as President Tinubu says, no Nigerian child will grow up living in fear. Now, the other issue has to do with the caucus meeting of the Northern Political Consultative Forum. Now, at the end of that meeting, the story you brought talked about what Malami said, that the government is not focusing properly on issues of danger and security, poverty, and all of that. Rather, the coalition is talking about endorsing Tinubu. Well, you cannot argue with him. There's poverty in the land. There's hardship in the land. So that's his own perspective. But I think that what is even more important is the communique that came out of that meeting. In the communique, the North resolved that they are willing to support a president that protects Northern interests. The North resolved that they are willing to support any attempt to ensure industrialization in the North. And the committees have been set up to look at how some of the resolutions from that deliberation will be actionalized. However, the thing to say is that indeed the problem with the North are the Northern leaders. They are the ones who are not looking out for the interests of their people. I can go on and on and on that subject. But the thing to just say is that if there is now a new realization, if their antipathy, their hatred for Tinubu has united them, for them to begin to focus on key issues that can move the North forward, I think that would be, in my view, a welcome development. Very quickly, the reps withdrawing the compulsory voting bill. Indeed, that statement was issued later yesterday. Everybody, stakeholders, have complained that it is a wrong-headed bill. And the most unfortunate part of it was that it was pushed even by Tajuddin Abbas, Speaker of the House of Reps, and then supported by another member of the House of Reps. Of all the things in electoral reform, they say is compulsory voting bill, which Nigerians, informed Nigerians, that is, not the imbeciles who sometimes talk nonsense, have resolved that this is a violation of sections 39 and 40 of the Constitution, that the hallmark of democracy is that the people have the right to make a choice. In fact, the right not to vote is part of freedom of expression. And they are citing the examples of Argentina, Belgium, Australia, Brazil, saying that they have a 90% voter turnout in those countries. The objective conditions that exist in those countries are not the same objective conditions that exist in this country. And that is why the major challenge is not compulsory voting. It's not compulsion. It's not fine of 100,000 or a jail term of 6 months. Okay, what if the people decide that, okay, we have your voter's card. Okay, jail all of us. We are not coming out to vote. So it's a counterproductive thing. So it's good that reason has prevailed. Now, groups like the DAI, like the UK government, like the Policy and Legal Advocacy Group, and even the National Assembly, they had a joint committee meeting on this issue of electoral reform. There are more substantial issues to talk about. PLAC, for example, was saying, can't we have voting in a single day? Those are more intelligent things to worry about. How do we improve women representation? How do we, make the process of voting, delivery of voting materials more efficient? How do we address the challenge of technology? How do we ensure that you don't have to present your birth certificate, BVN, whatever, for you to be able to vote? Biometric identification. That there should be a single, reliable point of identification for Nigerians to vote. Nigerians who are of voting age. Those are more substantial things. But you have a House of Reps coming and discussing the June matters, which even violate the whole essence of the democratic process. Well, it's good that Tajuddin Abbas and his men have found good reason at the end of the day. and that they have listened to the Nigerian people. Sometimes they don't listen, but in this instance, okay, we'll clap for them for at least listening and for their common sense waking up.
Absolutely. I think it's also a definitive moment for us to see how we can move the conversation from trying to push from coerced voting to informed voting. Because are we really looking for a higher turnout or higher quality voting? And what needs to happen? So apart from the electoral reforms that need to take place, there's a huge emphasis that needs to be put on voter education, that needs to be put on broader education so that people begin to understand the issues at hand. So people begin to understand the agenda that they need to be looking for with regards to their candidates and how to interrogate those candidates to know whether or not they will represent them and whether they will deliver on the priorities that matter to them. So when you just push for the numbers, as he said, yes, it's done in Australia and so forth, but it has also been rejected in the United States, in the UK, and a number of other countries who say that voting is a right and not an obligation. Furthermore, Jason Brennan, who is a political scientist, once said that incompetent voting is not harmless. It can lead to bad outcomes for everyone. So it's not just about bundling people together and saying everybody has to vote. We need to now sit down and say, how can we educate the electorate so that when voting happens, it's not based off of vote buying, it's not based off of coercion, but it's based off of an enlightened perspective on what's best for the future of the country and what's best for the family and for the individual. So as much as this bill has been stepped down, there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had. Number one, around electoral reforms, and number two, around the welfare, the enlightenment, the thought of the voter themselves. Do our voters really understand? And I'm not talking about the elite. I'm talking about the grassroots. Are they in tune with the issues? And while I talk about the grassroots, it takes me to the statement from the former AGF Malami, because it reminds me of what Dr. Ahmadi said on this platform yesterday, which he said that it's amazing that the politicians are focusing on elite politics. It's about the power dynamics, who will have what position, who will have this, the lion's share of that, and so forth. Nothing about the common man. Now, let's remind ourselves of where we've been in the past 2 years, because just in 2 days, we'll be marking the midterm anniversary of this administration. There are so many sectors to look at, but let's just look at medium to small enterprises, because we know that this is the heartbeat of the nation. The majority of people are either involved in informal business activities or are self-employed. However, the statistics from the NESG, the Economic Summit Group, say that 7 million small to medium enterprises have gone out of business since 2023. The statistics say that 94 trillion naira has been lost to either multinational divestment or business closure. And this is where the conversation should be. These are the things we should be focusing on, not the rotation of power and power dynamics, elitist conversations. Let's remember that this season is the season of governance where we are supposed to focus on bread and butter issues. So on that, I commend the AGF Malami on his statement on that. Of course, the politics will continue to happen, but on the front burner should be conversations about the welfare of the Nigerian. And thank you to President Bola Tinubu for the beautiful statement as he celebrates with all of us Children's Day, and of course, as we also celebrate with our children at home. But we now ask ourselves, how can more children be in the position of somebody like Master D, who referred to, who received a heart-saving heart transplant from the Duchess Hospital? He was in the privileged position to be able to get that private healthcare attention. What about the young man who was shot last week because a trigger-happy policeman was trying to stop his car as his father was rushing him for exams? What about the young girl who committed suicide because there was a technical glitch and some sort of human error that happened in our examination system? So yes, as much as we celebrate how far we've come and we set the agenda for where we want to go, we also need to have a deep think and conversation about what needs to be done for the safety, for the future and for the welfare of our children.